So, hello and welcome back. Let me remind you what's going to go on in this section. So we're going to have consultations, upping your game, prepping your clients for her appointment, and then looking at prepared references. So this is really going into the colour now. This is really going into what will colour life be like, not just the whole salon and the whole systems. Good. First of all, every client, I think, is going to need a consultation before they come in. Now, in what way you're going to do this consultation is entirely up to you, okay? But I'm going to look at the different ways in which you could do them. Some of you guys might already have a plan in place, but actually you might look at this and go, oh, that makes more sense. Because actually in my head, I've changed it a few times, okay? Since I've learned a little bit more. So, like I said to you, email, I feel, is one of the easier ones, but only if you have everyone's email addresses. Most people have clients' numbers, but not necessarily their email addresses, okay? One thing that some of the computer systems that we have started to do is consultation forms, okay? So a form that you can literally send to your client that will be filed then under the client's data. So I use Salon IQ, and that's something that they do. So if you haven't looked at what your system does, maybe have a little bit of a look. The one thing that my system's not doing, so Salon IQ, which I've told them about and they need to change it, is I need the client to be able to send a picture of their hair then, a picture of what they want. What I said to Salon IQ is, babe, it's all very well saying, what does your hair look like now? How long's your regrowth? Do you think your ends are in good condition? Your client doesn't have a clue. You know from doing a consultation that how your client would describe their hair, it's just not their hair. So consultations for me are pictures, 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 pictures of now, pictures then, okay? You can do these over the phone, so maybe they send by email and you give them a call. That's always nice, especially those with older clients. One thing I didn't mention quite before is that please remember that the clients that are going to be most conscious about the time in the salon are going to be the older clients. The younger clients, because they're not at high risk, are probably going to be a bit cooler about these sorts of things. So the nice thing about a phone call is it's really, really lovely, especially to be able to call the older clients that might want to hear your voice. But I would be really, really careful. What I've heard is those that are choosing that option, Jane just wants to catch up. Oh, how's it been? Oh, it must be awful that you're closed, and how are your kids, and how are you managing, and blah, blah, blah. And you get whoop into a hole. Next thing you know, you've only called 4 clients that day. So I would be careful and see if you can knock out these consultations via a different method rather than just call, if possible, because it's a time frame. Or before you call your client, just say, I've only allocated 10 minutes. Or when you actually answer the phone, you say, hi, darling, trying to do one of these every 10 minutes, if that's okay. How are you doing? Blah, 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 and move on. Set the tone of the time of the consultation. Okay, it's really important. Zoom is a really good option. I'm not going to be using Zoom on this side, personally, because I think it's a lot of coordination. Also, my stylists are not going to be doing the consultations. I've decided simply because of the furlough situation in this country. So I'm going to be doing them all. And I think Zoom is going to be better for us, or any of those sorts of things. It's going to be better for us for doing consultations during development process. So let's just say I've got my lovely Connor working here. He finishes his balayage, he cleans his section, he gets a paper cup for his client, cleans everything, goes downstairs, takes off what he had as protective, and then he's got a Zoom call for a consultation. He could even have 2 Zoom calls for consultations in between. So we're making sure that we're making use of that development time while someone's developing to get the consultation in for the lady tomorrow or the next week or whatever. So I think getting that set up in your office, in your wherever you can, that's going to be a bit of a system that we're going to end up doing. So that's where I'm personally going to be using Zoom. You could be using Facebook, you could be using Instagram DMs, and then like I told you before, WhatsApp Business. Have a Google of it. It's really, really interesting to have a look at that. The big question, and I think most people disagree with me here, and that's totally fine, is it the time to suggest something new? No. And yes. So for most salons, it might not be the best idea to suggest something new, because let's just say you've got a lot of grey head cover clients, they just want their roots back on, and really you're trying to get through as many clients as you can. So it might be an idea that you just want to go same old, bang, 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 bang them out, get them in, get the next lot in. I get that. But we have more space to play with. And this is such a beautiful time for a client to be able to reinvent themselves and feel new when you've been feeling like shit and you've been in lockdown. To be a new version of yourself is probably exactly what you need to emerge out to the world. So the reason why people say maybe it's not the right time is because about getting them in and getting them out. I get it. But actually, if you're charging correctly for a slightly bigger job, be that a colour correction, a slight change, a cleanse, you're not going to lose money. And you're really, really going to satisfy that client more than banging on a tint, of which, to be honest, they go and buy a box of Garnier to do that. What is really important now as a colourist, that you must be doing something that they can't do at home. So if Jessica has been putting on a brown tint at home and probably not doing such a bad job and it all looks fine, and you come on and you put your brown tint on, and your brown tint doesn't look any different to her brown tint, she might just go home and put her own brown tint on again. However, if you say, Jessica, I know what would be really nice. Why don't we face frame this? Why don't we break it up? Why don't we change the tone? Why don't we do that? What a great opportunity. Then maybe Jessica is more keen for you to do it than for her to do it. So there's an argument for or against to give more. You're going to need an image of what they want, which is what we discussed. Damaged clients will still need a strand test. So if I suspect that anyone wants bleaching and I don't think their hair is in great condition, I will be pulling them in for a strand test. We could do this by post, and I think that's a really good option. But I don't have the time. I really don't. I don't know how I'm going to find the time for this sort of stuff. So you're going to have to work out in your businesses, do I have a time to do strand test by post? Can I correctly get my client to take a sample of their hair? That terrifies me. But you could make a YouTube video, upload it to YouTube, send them a link and say, this is how to take a sample, this is how to send it off, this is our address. There are ways around everything. And yeah, like I said to you, consultation in the development room time. Okay. This is what you wanted to know. Skin testing. So in my country, it'll be over 3 months, which for many clients is going to be over the skin testing time. I use these currently. I'm not sponsored by them, but I am going to recommend them. And that is Colour Start. Yeah, I don't know if they have these globally, but basically, if you don't know them, they are like little temporary tattoos, I guess. Put the temporary tattoo on, leave it for 48 hours. If you get a reaction, blah, blah, same. I can't remember how much they cost. They might be about 80p or something like that. Some insurance companies don't say that they're valid, okay? So you must check with your insurance company if you can have them. 80p, another 80p on top of the price of the mask, on top of the price of everything else, you get a charge for it. I've been charging for colour tests since we started. So I've been charging £5. £5 is to cover the test, someone walking to the post office, the envelope, the stamp, the whole shebang. So you might want to include it, you might not, but that's entirely up to you. Phone examples at the ready. So this is definitely for you stylists, okay? Once you've done the consultations online, you're really going to try and cut out any issues. You now can't afford to run late. So you can only take on what you can take on. So you need to make sure that on your phone, and I've said this in courses before, that you have examples. What does banding look like and how can it be corrected? You know, what does it look like to have more balayage and less balayage? What does a gold balayage look like? What does an ash balayage look like? All of these things need to be categorized and put into your phone, especially things like if you've gone and put a warm tint on your roots, what the reality is of how clean I can get it. And possibly something like this isn't the case. So these aren't necessarily the best pictures, I admit, but you just need to be making folders in your phone so that you have not to be stood there scrolling through looking for an example of what you're going to say. Have them all ready. So preparing yourself or preparing your team. You're going to write, and we all know this as salon owners, we're going to write a structure, employees, your salon owner is going to have your structure for you. Of course, mine is called Not Another System and Operation, Bible plan, whatever I called it. But essentially it means this: no fucking around with the system, man. Like, this is the system. There's no middle ground. I mean, I would highly recommend having a point system, which is literally like having marks on the wall that people haven't done things right. I would be pulling people into the office very fast for not doing this right. I would set a 0 tolerance super fast. No fucking around with your timing. If a client comes in, you don't think you can do it in the time frame and you're going to run behind, you need to talk to that client about having a lesser service and charging perhaps lesser as well. But if you don't think you can fit it in the time, you can't take this on. Ben, is there any questions so far on what we've been talking about? Just so I'm going to say this last thing actually, Ben, just before I actually answer that. Everything has to be charged. So, you know, for example, if they're in for more than what they're booked for, they have to be charged for that. Yeah, go on, Ben, what have you got?
Are there any services that you just will not be doing when you go back?
No, absolutely not. Possibly a blow dry. If you just want to pop in for your weekly blow dry, absolutely not. It's completely lavish. But for me as a salon, and I'm not saying this is right for everyone, for me as a salon, I'm a colour specialist salon. This is what I do. I'm not a salon that covers just roots all the time. I'm literally a salon that does huge transformations. So for me, I will be welcoming in the crap because it's what I do best, but it's also how I charge best. So a lot of people are really scared about doing services because they don't want to lose money. If you think you're going to lose money on a service, you might not be charging what you should be charging. So if the only thing I'm probably not going to do is a blow dry, like a blow dry by itself. Maybe another one, darling? Any others?
Would you charge for a consultation service through Zoom?
I am thinking about it, but at the moment I'm not. But I wouldn't say that's a bad thing, to be honest with you. You need to remember, guys, that although you're nervous, you're massively in demand. Supply and demand. You have a little bit more strength when you're in this much demand because you have enough people waiting for you, which is a good thing. Lastly, what I would say is for salons, I love this idea. My team don't know this and my team are watching. Really cool idea is getting everybody into the salon for 1 or maybe 2 days before and having a do your hair party. Yay! But when you do your hair party, you do all, yeah, everyone's like, yay! You do all of your PPE systems and operations and standards, okay? So half of you are the hairdressers, the other half of you are the clients. You let them in, you do the system, you take their bill and you mock this up. It's perfect time to do it on each other. In the morning, half of you get your hair done. In the afternoon, half of you, and you switch, or you can do it over a few days. But the training before it starts, I think, is going to be absolutely essential. Okay. Right, CYA. If you've been on my academy course before, you will know what CYA is. CYA is, come on, someone put it in the comments. Does anyone know? What is CYA? Someone's been on my courses.
Cover your ass.
Cover your ass, yes. You've got to cover your ass right now because things are going to be hectic and you need to make sure that you're protected. So bear with me, I'll go and get it. Don't worry, I'm coming back. Oh, Connor, I'm picking up on yours. So Connor is one of my stylists. He's going to die because I didn't pre-prepare one of these. So you're going to see what one of these really looks like. This is Connor's form. So this is behind every single station, okay? It has the stylist name on it, okay? Now, for cleaning reasons, I don't know, maybe you have to rethink this about how this is cleaned, but actually, to be honest with you, everything's laminated, so it is cleanable. We'll have to work that out. But what we do is we have a price list on the back here, so we make sure in normal circumstances that when we're making a quote to a client in a consultation, and a client should always have a consultation, when we're making a quote to her, it's not like we're just making up the numbers, you know? It's like they're in front of us, so the client doesn't think, oh yeah, we're just, you know, added an extra 0. In here, sometimes as well, there's a yucky little one. We have little strand tests and stuff, so we might have to change the system and pull them out, okay? And then we have this thing, and I won't be able to go through this in detail. This is something that I do on my academy courses. I have a thing called a transparency form, okay? So this is a 2-page document that has everything that I feel that I need to talk to the client about. And to be fair, these are going to change now because of COVID-19, and we're going to add extra things in there that we need to give the client. On my email that I'm sending the client, I'm actually even asking her to bring her own pen because it saves me extra sterilising with pens. Someone's going to forget, but as much as we can. So it's things like what shampoo they should be using, what to expect, if they're going to extreme bleach, their hair's going to be drier. It even says that bleach is the most damaging chemical I can legally use on your hair. It's very dramatic. Oh, it's a bit scary, isn't it? Don't cough at this time. Actually, you'll be happy to know, I actually was terrified that I had it and I was doing this. So I took a test, and yesterday morning, I was like that close from cancelling this whole thing, and I was waiting for my test results. I had to stick one of those things right on my nose. It was awful. But anyway, as it happens, I'm all good. Anyway, so 2-page document. Let me get to the bloody point. On the bottom, it has actions agreed. We'll say things like, did not promise ash, will only get 1 level lighter today, hair will feel drier and will need home care to restore. Guys, actions agreed is about anything that you think your client is going to complain about, right? Anything you think that's the kind of thing that she will email in next week and go, it's a bit warmer than I expected, or I thought it'd be lighter than this, or anything you think. I think these forms will be really, really important because I really feel that we need to protect ourselves with the amount of colour corrections that we're going to be doing. And in a minute, we're going to talk more about colour corrections. So, hope you like these. Everything you feel like you need to say to your client to make sure she's well informed about the fact that her hair will fade, and anything that will happen will go on here. She gets to keep this part, and we get to keep this part. And that way, if she does call up and say, but my stylist didn't say that my pink would fade, I would say, all right, darling, just give me a second. And I'd go downstairs in my file and I would get it out and I'd say, oh, okay, I can see that you signed a form here, and they did talk through the fact that the pink would fade. You know, whatever. Nice, quite a bit more sarcastic than I would actually do. I was probably very sarcastic. Right, so that's going to be really helpful. Get them made up as well. Okay, I'm just going to go for another 10-minute break if that's okay before we get into our colour theory. So yeah, let's start it at 3. Let's actually have a nice little break, okay? And we're going to dig right into colour theory. So you're going to need your pens and your papers and coloured pens and stuff like that. And I'm reading all the comments, so give me any comments on how it's going and what you're enjoying. All right, see you soon.